So far, we've been talking about entering text. But sometimes you realize you've made mistakes, or you've forgotten something, or you should have used a different word somewhere. So now we're going to start talking about editing text that exists already. So for example, maybe I would like to get rid of the word Dan and replace it with something longer. So one of the ways I can do this is to click to put a cursor right after the N in Dan, and maybe hit the backspace key to take those letters out one at a time. And then in their place, I will type in Daniel and add my middle name, James. And you'll see as I do that, the words that are there already, they just move over and make room for that. So that flashing thing is called the cursor, or another name for it is the insertion point. And you've just actually seen why they might call it the insertion point. Now, that's one way to do that, erasing one thing and then typing another thing in its place. But we have a little saying around here. We say, you need not erase to replace. So maybe, for example, I want to replace the word word with something more general, talk about not specifically Word 2016, but the whole Office suite when teaching about Office 2016. So here I'm going to talk about you need not erase to replace. I'm just going to select the word word by dragging across it, and then in its place, I'm going to type the word office. And you'll see how it just automatically puts that word right in there. And any word wrapping that's going on at the end of the line is just going to automatically take over and wrap down to the next line. Now maybe I'm realizing that not everybody's going to know what the QA toolbar is, so maybe I need to spell that out. Quick Access Toolbar. So I'm going to click to put my flashing insertion point right there, and I'm going to start typing the rest of the word quick. Leave a little space. Hit the right arrow key to move past the A and add the word access. By the way, that has nothing to do with the database program called Microsoft Access. It's just the official name for this area right up here called the Quick Access Toolbar. All right, so you can see how it automatically rewraps the words as we do that. So why don't you just take a moment and go in and try some of the things you just saw me doing. I erased a word and then typed another word in its place. And then I went and selected a word and typed another word in its place without deleting it first. So put our video on pause, go do that just a little bit. Maybe you're typing something different than what I'm typing. That's fine, that's okay. You can work on the kind of memo that you would be writing, and that way you're practicing stuff that would be more familiar. So put our video on pause, take just a moment, play a little bit with the editing. Erase something and type something else in its place, and then try one where you select a word and type another word in its place without erasing first. So put our video on pause and try that. Welcome back. Let's continue typing. So I'm going to click right here after the word rulers, or whatever is your last word. Hit the enter key a couple of times, and then let's put in a closing. How about sincerely, enter key, and then fill in your name. Please pause the video and do that, and then we'll be ready to save this document. All right, good work. Let's go talk about saving this thing now. Now, as I look up in my Quick Access Toolbar, I have this little object, supposed to look like an old floppy disk. Or I can go to my File tab and go to the Backstage view and save in there. I'm going to click the back button. When I hover over that floppy disk, it says, okay, it's used to save, and it might be a little bit hard to see, but it does say Control and S is the keyboard shortcut for that. In fact, let me use some third-party software to zoom in on that even more. Oh, it won't keep the little tooltip as I zoom in. So again, it's probably a little bit hard to see because it gets miniaturized on your screen, but the save command keyboard shortcut is Control and S. So I'm going to go click on that little save button. And you notice the window that pops up says Save As. Now, until you've saved a file in the first place, obviously there's no difference between save versus save as. The save as specifically comes in if you decide that you want to save that document under a different name. So maybe you've got a document that looks one way, and then you've made some changes to it, and you don't want to lose the original by clicking Save to destroy the original and put the new one in its place. You might be able to choose Save As, and that way give it a slightly different name or put it in a different folder, and then you'd have a before version and an after version. But when you're saving it for the first time, there's no difference between save versus save as. Now I get to choose where I want to put it, and you might notice that by default it's ready to put it on the cloud. So this is another one of those things that Microsoft realizes is the wave of the future, collaboration and storing things in a place where not only can I get to it on all my different devices, maybe my Windows phone, maybe my tablet computer, maybe my desktop computer. That's one of the things that putting a document on the cloud is good for. Also for collaboration, give somebody else permission to work on that document on the cloud with you, and that way you can be both working on it at the same time. That's a little bit down the road as far as our lesson is concerned. In my case, I would like to just save it on my computer here. So I'm going to click on this PC. Right now I have two just automatic choices, the My Documents folder or the desktop. Now in most cases, you would store things in the My Documents folder. That's what that's for. But in my case, I'd like to make a little folder for my finished files out on my desktop. So I'm going to click on Desktop. And then I want to make a little folder for finished files. I've got one for Word sample files. We haven't looked in there yet, but we will pretty soon. I would like to make a new folder. Luckily, there is a button right here that will let me create a new folder. So that's where I'm headed right now, to make a new folder out on my desktop. It makes a new folder named New Folder, but its name is all highlighted, which means I can type right over top of it, and I'll call it Finished Word Documents. Now, you can feel free to drop yours in the My Documents folder, but I would still recommend make a new subfolder, make a new folder, and name it Finished Word Documents. I happen to be putting mine out on the desktop, you can see here. And then by default, it takes whatever is in the very first line and makes that the name of the file. Now, you can override that. You can drag over the name here and name it something else. But in my case, Memo, seems like a decent name for it. So I'm going to make sure I put it in my Finished Word Documents folder by double-clicking on the Finished Word Documents folder. So now you can see that I'm actually standing in that folder that's on my desktop, that's under my name, that lives in the house that Jack built. And I'm going to finish saving that by clicking the Save button right down here. So I haven't really changed anything in the document, but as I look up in the blue title bar now, it says the name of my document. Now you may or may not see the 4-letter file name extension up here, memo.docx. That's not actually a Word thing, that's a Windows thing. So if we have time to do it, maybe we'll talk about how could you get the 4-letter extension to show up, but right now it's not important. So take a moment and save your file. Again, the way I did that, I clicked on File and Save, or I clicked on the little floppy disk icon, and then I made a folder to put it in. So I went to File. Right now, if I choose Save, it won't ask me what to name it because it's already got a name. If I were to click on Save As, maybe I can see more information. So I changed it from OneDrive to this PC. I went to the desktop. I made a new folder that I named Finished Word Documents. I had to type that name and hit the Enter key to actually stand in that folder. And then I kept the same name. You can change it if you like. I just let it be named Memo. When I hit the Enter key, it saved it right into that folder. Now, if I click Save again right now, it just replaces the old one with the new one. All right, so your turn. You're finishing off your letter, and you are saving it, and you are creating a folder to drop it into. So catch up with me there, everybody.